France has long been criticised for supplying weapons to Saudi Arabia. Human rights charities have time and time again told the government that those weapons are being used to bomb schools, hospitals and other civilian targets, exacerbating the crisis in Yemen. A war that's left thousands dead and pushed millions to the brink of starvation. The UN has even called what's happening in Yemen the world's worst humanitarian crisis. But France has always hit back, saying the weapons that it sells to Saudi Arabia are only used defensively to deter attacks by the Houthis.
I'm not aware that French weapons are being used directly in Yemen.
Except that now appears to be contradicted by a classified note by the French Military Intelligence Service, uncovered following an investigation by a media outlet called Disclose. It reveals French weapons sold to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates are being used in the war in Yemen. But when pressed again in light of this new evidence, the governments once again offered denials.
To our knowledge, the French weapons available to the members of the coalition are mostly in a defensive position, outside Yemeni territory or on coalition rights of way, but not on the front line. And we are not aware of any civilian casualties resulting from their use in the Yemeni theater. France is not among the leading arms suppliers of countries engaged in Yemen.
But that's hard to swallow, given that this classified note was apparently provided to the French government in October 2018. It showed 48 Caesar artillery guns were being used along the Saudi-Yemen border, that tanks sold to UAE are in action, as too are fighter jets, while missile guiding technology may have been deployed. France's military agency note actually goes even further. 2 French ships are serving in the blockade of Yemeni ports, directly leading to food and medical shortages. That means that women and children can't access the food that they need, nor medicines if they've been attacked. Now, last year, President Macron dismissed pressure to halt arms sales to Riyadh after it was implicated in the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
It's pure demagoguery to say stop selling weapons. They have nothing to do with Mr. Khashoggi. Do not confuse these things. It is interesting to hear those who, before knowing the facts, say, we will not sell more weapons. They already sell more than France through the joint ventures they have.
Arms sales to Saudi are big business for France. Between 2008 and 2017, it was the second biggest purchaser of French arms, with deals totaling more than 11 billion euros. Meanwhile, Macron has talked about the ongoing crisis in Yemen. His country even hosted a humanitarian conference to discuss the issue. But for many, so far, it's been all talk and little action, as pockets continue to be lined, all while the people of Yemen face one of the world's most desperate plights. Charlotte Dubinsky, RT, Paris.
Well, we talked to the co-founder of the Disclose investigative website, which published those documents. Jeffrey Levolsi told us that France supports the Saudi-led bombing campaign for commercial reasons.
The
French contracts now with Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates are generally for weapons maintenance. Arms are sold to these countries and France keeps them operational. So it's not just a question of arms sales to these countries, but it can stop keeping these weapons operational in the Yemeni conflict. France supports the coalition through arms sales, and it answered disclosed today that its defence support is to fight terrorism. However, French weapons are currently not used in Yemen against al-Qaeda, but against Yemenis themselves, namely the Houthi parts. So clearly, this is not a question of fighting terrorism. Why is the French government continuing to support the coalition? It is certainly linked to economic interests. These contracts bring in huge amounts of money to France, which is the world's number 3 or 4 arms seller.